Hare Krishna, welcome all of you to this class. Let's begin with the invocation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai. Nitai Chaitanya ki jai. Bali Maharaj ki jai. Vaman Dev ki jai. Parashuram Bhagwan ki jai. Panchtattva ki jai. Giri Govardhan ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Namacharya Padaya Nitaya Kripa Pradayane Gauravatadhamadaya Nagari Ramtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we are in the chapter number 8. The name of the chapter is Attaining the Supreme. A very interesting and a very important chapter where Krishna explains how to attain the Supreme. So we have been seeing how different type of transcendentalists achieve liberation. So continuing with that, the 12th verse of chapter number 8, today's verses, Sarvadvarani samyamya manohridi nirudhyacha mudhya adhayatmanah pranam ashito yoga dharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. So there are different kinds of yoga systems, and Krishna is particularly talking about the Ashtanga yoga system, how the Ashtanga yogis, they give their life up. Voluntarily they can, decide their time of death. And what do? They close all the doors of senses. They fix their mind on the heart, and then they lift their life air at the top of the head. Okay, it's called as the Shat Chakra Yoga. There are 6 chakras that are being described, in the Vedas. So now let us explore this further. So one thing is, this yoga system is like a ladder. So different systems are there. So it all starts with the Varnashrama Dharma. Varna and Ashrama is like bringing a person who is almost living an animal life to human life. That is Varnashrama. That is about social life and spiritual orders of life. Right? So that is Varnashrama. After establishing in the Varnashrama comes Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is, doing our material activities and offering it to Krishna. As per the Varnashrama Dharma, as given in the Vedic scriptures, we are following our prescribed duties and offering the result to Krishna. That is Karma Yoga. That is one stage. And when this karma culminates in jnana, that is transcendental knowledge. So if we do our karma properly, all the kind of the fire sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, then it culminates in the jnana. Jnana means transcendental knowledge. Knowledge about the soul and knowledge about the super soul. And this jnana, it develops further into dhyana. That is Ashtanga Yoga. So the Ashtanga yogis, they are meditating upon the Supreme Lord. So they are furthermore advanced. So this Ashtanga Yoga, finally, where does it culminate? It culminates in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is worshipping the Supreme in Navavida Bhakti, hearing and chanting, etc. So the final process is Bhakti Yoga. And what happens to those people who are following different kinds of yoga practices? Let us just explore that. So for the Karma Yoga practice, those people who are following it, they have to go through the Vedic sacrifices. And the prerequisite is that they must be established in Varnashrama Dharma. And the final culmination is that they get jnana or transcendental knowledge. That is the culmination. And what is the destination for these people? the destination for these people is heavenly planets. So that means doing karma yoga, it is not possible to go back to God. We can go up to the heavenly planets. So examples of that is Dharma Vyadha, King Janaka, Prajapatis, and King Riga. Like that, there are various examples that are given in the Shastras. Now coming to the Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, the definition is, to process of cultivating the qualities beginning with humility and understand the difference between matter and spirit. Discriminating between matter and spirit using mental speculation. This is called as Jnana Yoga. Right? And the prerequisites is that the mind and senses must be pure, and one must be established in the Varnashrama system. And typically, it is to those Varnas who are in the Sattva Guna. It is recommended for those people. Or it is recommended for those people who have renounced materialistic activities completely. For them, this process is recommended. And the destination is they will go to the impersonal Brahman. They will merge their identity in the impersonal Brahman. So again, that is, it's a temporary place. Prabhupada used to say that those people who even merge in the impersonal Brahman, if they do not have respect for Krishna's lotus feet, they will have to fall down. The example that Prabhupada says is, just like if you're going in an airplane for a long time, after some time you feel like coming down because there is no enjoyment there. Because in the impersonal Brahman, there is no variety or there is no enjoyment. Because there is no variety, there is no enjoyment. Therefore, you will feel like coming back to the material. Okay. So the next one is the Ashtanga Yoga system. The Ashtanga Yoga system, or the Eightfold Yoga system, is aimed at realizing the Paramatma. So it all begins with the process of asana. It is a kind of a gymnastic process where we are trying to sit down in some yogic postures and trying to control our life air with the help of pranayama. So right now, Krishna is telling how Ashtanga yogis can attain liberation. So the prerequisites for this yoga system is, just a second, Krishna. The prerequisite for this yoga system is our mind must be fully in control. That is the prerequisite. Unless mind is 100% controlled and unless one is 100% established in celibacy or brahmacharya, one cannot take up this Ashtanga Yoga system. Or at least they cannot attain perfection through that system if they are not following the rules and strict rules and regulations that are given in the process. Right? Now that's how we have seen that, even Arjuna rejects this system. He says that, Chanchalahi mana Krishna pramadi balavadruda. He says, it's very difficult for me to control my mind. This system sounds very, very impractical and unendurable for me. That's what he says. Right? So the destination for these people who are Ashtanga yogis is the, again, impersonal Brahman. They go to up to impersonal. The examples are the four Kumaras, Navayogendras, King Janaka, etc. Right? So that is about Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. So in the Ashtanga Yoga, today we will see about how Dhritarashtra has quit his life. So this is a story of Dhritarashtra comes in the Srimad Bhagavad. So Dhritarashtra is the father of Duryodhana, right? And we all know about him very well. The first verse of Bhagavad Gita says Dhritarashtra Vacha, right? So this Dhritarashtra, even after the war of Kurukshetra, he did not change. He continued to remain a materialistic person. So his brother Vidura gave him good counsel and he keeps on telling him good advices. And he comes to him and he says that, Yudhishthira, is the king now. And you are being maintained by Yudhishthira and Bhima. Almost your position is almost like that of a dog. How can you be so shameless like a dog? Right? And he says, you become so old and then still you're being so materialistic. So this is not correct. So like that, he gives him very nice counsel. So ultimately, Dhritarashtra quits home. He goes, he completely leaves everything and he goes to the north, to the Himalayas, right? And then he goes to a place called Saptashrota. I'm reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Ashtanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily in the morning, noon, and evening. By performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire and by drinking only water. This helps control one's mind and senses and frees one completely from the thoughts of familial affection. So what Dhritarashtra was doing was, he was performing this Ashtanga Yoga system. So today's verse is about attaining the Supreme through Ashtanga Yoga, right? And in that we have seen the destination is spiritual world, right? And the progress is through Samadhi or intense meditation. So here is a practical example of how Dhritarashtra did it. So he used to only consume water, right? And then one who has controlled the sitting postures, yogic asanas, and the breathing processes can turn the senses towards the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance. So what happens is, when we do this yogic asanas and when we turn our senses towards Krishna, right? That time what happens is, the contaminations of the Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, they stop to exist. Actually, the agitation inside our mind is because of the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. When we are established in the mode of goodness, the agitation will stop. That is why we see practically that when we join a yoga studio and when we start to do meditation practice, we find a lot of peace of mind. Why are we getting peace of mind? The peace of mind is coming because the mode of passion and mode of ignorance, they are getting reduced and we are getting established in the mode of goodness. Then what happened? Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. So it is like a mechanical process that Dhritarashtra will have to follow. What he has to do is, he has to amalgamate his identity with his intelligence, his identity into the intelligence, and that intelligence must be merged into the Supreme Being, right? And he has to understand the qualitative oneness with Krishna. So actually every living entity is qualitatively same as Krishna. Just like a drop of water is qualitatively same as the ocean. A drop of water is also salty. Ocean is also salty. So by studying or analyzing the drop of water, you can understand the nature of the ocean. Qualitatively, it is the same, but quantitatively, it is not. So that is what Dhritarashtra will have to do. He has to find out this qualitative equality with the Lord. And then he will have to suspend all the actions of the senses, even from the outside. And will have to be impervious to the interaction of the senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all material duties, he must become immovably established beyond all the sources of hindrances on the path. So yogic process is that of severe mind control. It requires extreme discipline. It is not at all easy process. It's a very difficult process. Of course, in the previous yugas, there were so many people who were able to achieve that. It is said, Tritaye Dhyayato Vishnum. That means in the Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga, it was very much possible. There were many people who could achieve that, right? But in the Kali Yuga, maybe one or two may achieve. But people or the masses of public, they can never be able to do this kind of a very strict disciplinary system. So that means attaining the Supreme to yogic process is very difficult, correct? So then what happens? On the 5th day from today, his body will turn into ashes. So he produces this fire from his, from the yogis, they produce a fire from within and they burn their body, right? So that is how he got liberated, Yudhishthir Maharaj. So we have seen today's verse was about the yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga, right? Today's verse, we are seeing this Shat Chakra Yoga process. right? The life air, they block, they block the life air from going downwards, with the help of a yogic posture. By blocking the anus, they sit in a yogic posture and they will raise that prana upwards from one chakra to the other, bring it towards the Sahasrara chakra. And then they will try to leave it or project it outside, inside the air, and that is how they leave their body. And it is being said that they may be going to the different kinds of planetary systems, right? But the problem is, when you're going through the different kinds of planetary systems, it is very much possible that the yogi may be distracted and may stay back in the material world also, right? And it is also a very difficult process, right? Completely withdrawing the senses through an artificial process is very difficult, right? So, but in this age of Kali, it's the recommended process is Krishna consciousness. It is very much suitable for the common public. So simply chanting the names of Krishna, always remembering Krishna, we can attain whatever destination that the yogis can attain, or even better, we can attain that destination which even the Ashtanga yogis cannot attain. That is the personal association of the Supreme Personality of God. So this is the process for Kali Yuga that we must all adapt. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.